how do you make your rundown in Ross Inception look the way you want it to look so it's most conducive to a smooth working process as you're preparing for a program or a newscast? Sometimes people look over my shoulder and they say, hey, yours looks different than mine. How do I get mine to look like yours? You do that in Ross Inception by what's called managing perspectives. How do I do that? Well, I've pulled up a rundown here, a typical 6 o'clock rundown, and I've purposefully messed it up. Columns are not where I usually see them. Columns are not where most people usually see them. The video column is all the way to the left. Icon, floated, approved, page number, slug, MOS status, back time, when was it last modified, a script, segments, anchors, the timing columns are all messed up. There's a bunch of other columns out here to the right that we don't really use that much. So I just wanted to show them to you, the channel. Some of you are using this now that we're transitioning to Newsmaker in the new control room, but you know, there's a lot more columns here than you would typically use. And the key is at different times during the day, preparing a show, polishing a show, checking the status of the video in a show, activating a show and monitoring that show during a newscast, and at various other times during the day, you might want to have these columns in different places. So how do you arrange them and put them in places where it makes the most sense for the way you like to work? Well, look at how it's arranged now. Again, see where the first 4 or 5 columns here, in the order they're now represented is video, icon, floated, approved, page, and slug. Okay? Now that's not how I like to look at my columns. And I've saved a perspective. So at the top of your screen, all the little icons are up here. And once you get over here to this little folder looking one, right here, this is your Manage Perspectives section. So you hover over it, and it gives you a drop down. It can show you your perspectives, which you've already saved and created, and it gives you an area where you can go in and create new perspectives, views, or layouts, however you'd like to call it. Ross calls them perspectives. So this rundown currently, this 6 o'clock rundown is not laid out the way that I like to work. So I have a perspective which I've titled MOS Status View Number 1. Watch what happens when I click that perspective and the rundown is reorganized the way that I like to look at it. Boom. See how all the columns were reorganized? The type of story it is, a broadcast story. The floated column, approved column, MOS status column, page number, slug, segment, anchor, video, you get the idea. Then all my timing columns come up. So that's the way that I typically like to interact with a rundown during the afternoon when I'm interfacing with it. But let's say I want a more technically oriented rundown, and I like to see more of my MOS information over here. Let's make one of those and show you how to create a new perspective. So basically you just need to drag the columns in the order in which you like to see them laid out, and then you need to save that as a perspective. So I'm going to create a more technical layout. So for instance, I'm going to want to see the slug of that MOS ID. I'm going to want to know what channel it's in. Okay. And I'm going to want to know how long that MOS object runs. So I'm just basically moving these further to the left. And I'm not sure if my only being able to move them so far as a function of Inception, honestly, or if it's actually a function of this recording software I'm using to make this tutorial. So bear with me as I slowly get them over to the edge of the screen where I want them. So again, remember I'm creating a layout here, or a perspective, which is maybe more technically oriented, perhaps one that a director would want to use or a producer would want to use when they're double checking just to make sure that all the MOS objects are in, they're all loaded properly in the correct channels, and they're all ready to go. So let's see, let's get this, let's leave the slug there. Let's put the duration over here. Okay, so what I've done is I've moved a bunch of the MOS information over to the left-hand side of the screen. And let's adjust this a little bit. So you can really adjust the size of these columns. And what I want to see here is how long is this element, this MOS element, so I can get an idea if it's been loaded properly. Sometimes when you load video into the system and it is not loaded correctly, instead of this being 46 seconds here, it might be 1 second or 2 seconds, and that would give you an alert, like that would tell you, oh, maybe I need to reload that video, it wasn't loaded properly. Of course, the MOS status column gives you a green light, yellow light, or a red light. It tells you if the object is queued, ready to go. MOS channel tells you whether it's an A or B. The slug is what it's named, and of course our naming convention, we try to name the video same thing that the slug of the story is named. So not exact here, should really say HLVO KIV who, but we probably used the same video for the headline that we did for the actual story. So I cut the video for the story and then just drug it in here as well. But you see the nomenclature matches. SOT lawmakers react, that's Robbie's SOT stand-up tees, and here's the same thing here under MOS slug. So this might be a perspective that a director might want to use when checking to see if all the video has been loaded, if it's showing up in the correct column, or again a producer might want to use this just to do a final check maybe before going into the control room before a show starts. So just for the sake of showing you how to create a perspective, this is the look that I've created, or perspective I've created for this particular layout. So now I want to name it. So I have it all laid out. I've drug all my columns where I want them to be. And I'm going to create a new perspective. So I click on Manage Perspectives, and I want to save as this new perspective. I want to save it as something new. So I do Video Ready Check 1. You can name it whatever you want to name it. And I hit Save. Now I have two perspectives that I can choose from to look at my rundowns. The MOS status view and the Video Ready Check view. Okay, so remember, I had it in my MOS status view. I moved columns around. I saved that perspective or look or layout and named it under Manage Perspectives, and look what I have here now. I have my old view and I have the new one, the new perspective that I just created. So let's look at my rundown in the old view. Boom. That's the one I had it before. Now I want to look at it in my new view. Boom. It's that easy. Drag the columns around in the order that you'd like them to appear and work with them. Go up here under Manage Perspectives, open the interface, name that layout or perspective, save it, and then you can really create as many layouts as you'd like or perspectives as you would like. That's how you make your rundown look the way you want it to look, so that you can interact with it efficiently and save time. So you're not going over here, way over here, hunting for information. Put all the stuff you want on the left-hand side. Save it, and then save multiple views, and just toggle between them. That's how you manage perspectives in Ross Inception.